Hey listeners, Justin Talks TV here, bringing you a brand new episode for your one and only source where you can hear me talk about the scandalous lives of Manhattan's elite. That's right, this week episode I am talking about the original Gossip Girl series. Um, Man, I did not think I would ever tune into this show, like ever, you know, I didn't think I'd ever watch a show called Gossip Girl. Like, I've never been interested in it or anything. My friends at school were telling about it, and they were saying I should watch it or whatever. But and then I definitely was not gonna watch it. But then I was like bored one Friday night and was like, oh, why not? Let's just see what this whole hype is about because I've heard about it for years. I actually heard who Gossip Girl was years ago, so I knew that going into the series, which made it for a more interesting watch because I could be like, hey, that's the guy that ends up being Gossip Girl. But I checked it out one night and I was like, okay, this is very interesting. I'm very interested in the drama that's going on here. If you have not seen or heard of Gossip Girl, it does follow a group of very wealthy kids living on the Upper East Side of New York. They all go to this prestigious high school, and there's this anonymous blogger called Gossip Girl that reports on all the scandals and things going on in their lives, and they send out a blast basically exposing people, being like, oh, we just saw these two kissing outside or whatever. So there's an anonymous blogger that follows all of their lives and exposes all their deepest secrets and scandals, and it's very interesting. From the first episode, I was interested in the drama between Serena and Blair and the whole she slept with Nate, Blair's boyfriend, even though that's her best friend, and this new guy is like in love, or this not a new guy, but this other guy is in love with Serena, who's on the outside, who has a crush on Serena, who just mysteriously came back from boarding school from a year. So it's a lot of intrigue immediately into the first episode that really draws you in. It does what a first episode should. It establishes these characters and their dynamics and establishes the drama and what's the sort of intrigue of this show and what makes it different. Like, it's not just any teen drama about kids who go to high school. It has the added element of Gossip Girl, who, is always watching and exposing, and it it makes her a very interesting show. And also just the idea of these kids being wealthy and mostly unsupervised, have terrible parents, and just getting into all sorts of stuff. And it's very interesting. And then you also have the aspect of this other family who's like not wealthy and goes to the school, the prestigious school of all the rich kids, um, and they're seen as like outsiders per se. The Humphrey family, which consists of Rufus, Jenny, and Dan, who are supposed to be, they're from Brooklyn, which Brooklyn is so trashed on the show. Like they're just like act like Brooklyn is just some disgusting suburb or something. Like they hate Brooklyn. The All the kids living on the Upper East Side, they're like, Brooklyn. Like the way they say it, just like acts like it's trash. I've never been to New York, but I'm sure Brooklyn is not that bad. Um, but yeah, and then there are the rich kids, Serena, who's the main character. She's a beautiful blonde it girl, who starts off like a party girl type and is come back home from boarding school to try to have a fresh start back home. and everything. And then there's her best friend Blair, who's currently mad at her for one at first just for ditching her and going to boarding school without saying goodbye. But then she found out she also slept with her boyfriend Nate, who is also in love with Serena but is dating Blair. And then there's Chuck, who is Nate's best friend, who is the scum of the earth, womanizer. Chuck Bass is awful. But we'll get more into characters, what I think of them. And then I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. Um, Not those are like the main characters. There are other characters that are important, like Eric, who is Serena's brother, who just at the beginning of the series is in a mental institution because he tried to kill himself. Then there's her terrible mom, Lily, who also used to date Dan's dad, Rufus, and Dan is so outsider guy, whatever, that's a whole thing. Who's in love with Serena, and then his sister Jenny, who is desperate to fit into this Manhattan Upper East Side social scene. So that's basically, the main part of the show and how what you kind of need to know in general. It's very interesting watch, but I'm going to talk about the explicit details of the show and get into everything, all my opinions, all the things I've heard, my reactions to all these different things. So if you just want like a little introduction to Gossip Girl, go watch the series on HBO Max. It's gonna keep you busy for a little while. It took me like 2 months to finish the series. So go check that out. But this part is for if you have seen Gossip Girl or if you really want to know just what happened. So let's so like I said, I did not think I'd ever watch Gossip Girl. Like I'm just like, I'm not about to watch Gossip Girl. That show seems ridiculous. I mean, I think I was more thrown off by the name. Like Gossip Girl sounds like a really like it sounds like a girly show, and I was just like, I'm not about to watch Gossip Girl. Like, but it's not really a girly show per se. In my opinion, it's just like any other teen drama. There are guys and girls, and like their whole dynamic. I don't think it's supposed to be directed at girls, but I checked it out. I'm just like, I'm very interested in the teen drama that is going on here, and the idea of having something like Gossip Girl, the blogger itself in this world who's just like nobody's safe or just exposing everybody's secrets and you can't get away with anything. And the narration, I gotta say, I think the narration is very entertaining. Kristen Bell narrates as Gossip Girl throughout the whole series, and I love the voice she has, and the narration is all very catty, and it always has these like metaphors she's using. Like it's so fun. Like all her narration is so fun. Like, B looks like, whatever. And then she'll give like some very witty catchphrase. Like, I cannot come up with one. But it's so fun to hear this catty voice narrating everything that's going on in the series. And honestly, I'm just like, can Kristen Bell just narrate my life in like the same catty voice? Because it's so entertaining to watch. But the idea of this blog that just follows them around and you don't know who it is, and everyone sends in tips to Gossip Girl, and then well, if you've seen the series, you know that Gossip Girl is Dan Humphrey, which we'll get into everything about that later. But you send in the Gossip Girl, and then it gets posted for the whole internet to see that you just hooked up with this person, or you're with this person, or you're at this location, and and stuff like that, which is like a strange world to live in. Like, I cannot imagine, not that I really did anything in high school, but just being followed and just your every move. Like, if you do anything, anybody could have just taken a picture of it or is lurking and they're just sending in to Gossip Girl, and then, the whole internet, even people that don't know you can see, oh, Serena Vanderwoodson and Dan Humphrey have been spotted kissing outside, the school, or Blair has had a hookup with Chuck when she just broke up with Nate or whatever, like those kind of things. And it's makes for what makes the series stand out as not just any high school drama about rich kids or whatever. So it's very intriguing, and the drama is so entertaining. Like, I'm just like, I want to know what happens next. Like, every single episode, I'm just like, what happens next? It leaves you with cliffhangers on just any episode. I was thinking, like, and I was talking about it to my friends, I'm like, I don't know how people used to wait like a week between episodes or months when it was like the season finale. I'm just like, I need to know what happens right now. Like, it's like it's a show that definitely kept me drawn in. Like, I don't usually like dramas. Like, if you notice, a lot of my episodes are on comedy series and stuff like that, but because I don't really like dramas, I think they can be too much, and sometimes Gossip Girl is too much. I'm like, okay, I need a break from the drama, but like, still, it's juicy drama, and it's like just fun teen drama. Like, oh, these two are dating, or these two were spotted hooking up, or she sabotaged this person. They go to all these elite parties, and just all these different scandals that go on that are just like, this is so interesting. Like, what happens next? Or this person has a secret identity, or is pretending to be that person, or has this crazy secret. It's just what kept me drawn into the show as one who wouldn't have thought he would like a show like Gossip Girl, but it's been very interesting, and I love talking about it with my friends and being like, I don't like this, or we don't like that, or that was crazy, that kind of thing. And then like me telling my family stuff about it, and they don't watch it, and they're just like, okay. I'm just like, it's so good, like, keeps me going. Yeah, so that's kind of what I felt about the show. I did feel that as the series went on, like, it did feel very soap opera. Like, oh, you're not really who you say you are, or whoa, this person's still alive that died 2 years ago. I'm just like, this is becoming a full-on soap opera. Or I'm surprised no one ever had like a twin that they never knew about or something, or whatever, because this show just became such a soap opera, but it was so fun to watch. Like, oh, Rufus and Lily have a secret child, which was like underwhelming, to be honest. I'm like, okay, and then he showed up, and then he was like, alright, now that you showed up, you can go, like, basically. But I want to get into a lot of thoughts about specific things in the show. So I want to first talk about characters. The characters on this show, I think I didn't really truly like anybody by the end of the series. Everybody was so terrible. There was like, it was hard to like anybody, like, because they were such bad people most of the time. But okay, so let's get into characters I just could not stand or didn't like. One, Jenny Humphrey. She's not number one, but I cannot stand Jenny. Like, first season, I kind of got what she was trying to do. She just wanted to fit into this big world and go to all these parties and stuff, and I kind of got it. It was like a high school thing, and I was just kind of like, I get that. She just wants to fit in, and you kind of felt bad for her. But then as time went on, she just became like outright evil, like, and terrible. She like disrespects her dad like so badly, who did not deserve it. Like, Rufus was one of the most likable characters. Not that he never did anything wrong, but he was more likable than most. He was definitely the best parent, like, of the parents. Like, all the other parents are usually absent or terrible or abusive, but Rufus cared about his family, and then Jenny just throwing him for all these loops, running away, dropping out of school, running away from home, stealing, selling drugs. Like, it was just crazy. Jenny, it's just like, you are terrible. You are terrible after a certain point. It just was like, you're not fun to watch anymore. You're just awful. She was just like, I mean, it would just blew my mind how much Jenny changed. I just thought she was gonna be like the little sister character, and like she was gonna be kind of like the tame, normal one. That's how I thought at first, and then I just ended up. I'm just was so glad when she was off the show, because I just couldn't even stand her anymore. It's just like, thank God she left the show, because Jenny was just, woo, I was getting sick of her. Dan Humphrey. But I liked Dan most of the series. Not that he was perfect, but I think his whole I'm an outsider, I'm not a part of this world, blah 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 blah, like, got really, really old. It was just like, Dan, shut up. You literally are in this world. You know everybody. You date the girls. You hang out with the people. You go to the parties. Your dad married Lily. It's just like, shut up. It's like, please, like, stop talking about how you're the outsider and you're poor. It's just like, you are not that poor. You live in a nice loft in Brooklyn and you go to this elite private school. Like, it's just like, chill out, Dan. And then he just became like a jerk, like, over time. He was a really good guy. Like, I think the first couple seasons, like when he was first dating Serena, and it felt like this is a genuine person and different and stuff like that. But then by season six, Dan was downright awful. I mean, posting exposés about these people he's supposed to care. I think they sent him over the edge, which I also understood. I think by the end of the series, they had sent Dan over the edge. And like, I got there just like, you people have done the worst things and you've treated me poorly too. I'm not gonna act like they didn't treat Dan poorly. I think it sent him over the edge, but he did become more of a jerk by season 6, guilting people and writing terrible things about them, and like, he would just say like, and like, to his dad. That's what really got me. It was just like, suddenly he's just like throwing these aggressive jabs at his dad, basically like, that's why Lily left you and she doesn't respect you and she values her money more than you, and basically like, you're a loser. Basically, it's just like, bro, like, what is this coming from? Like, why are you coming after your dad like that? Like, he was always trying to help Dan. Like, when he like ended up back in the middle of the thing with Serena by the end of the series, he's just like, he said, I thought you would learn by now. Like, basically, because him and Serena do the same thing back and forth, which also got a little old too. But it's just like, Dan, it's just like, and then this whole your world, my world thing, which was like the whole point of the series, but it's just like, bro, get over it. It's just like, do you want to, do you want to be a part of the world or not? Or do you want to get revenge? Or do you want to whatever? It's just like, because honestly, it's just like, Dan just was outright awful. And then Dan is Gossip Girl. One, like I said in the beginning, I already knew who Gossip Girl was going into this series because I had like heard it like a while ago, like before the show was really on my radar. Somehow I was just like, isn't some guy named Dan Gossip Girl? Like friends were talking about it, and because like I had just heard it because I thought I was never gonna watch Gossip Girl, so I'm just like, I don't care who Gossip Girl is. But now the whole series, I know that Dan is Gossip Girl, and as the series goes on, it makes less and less sense that Dan is Gossip Girl. And then by the end, when it's finally truly revealed that he is, I'm just like, okay, I don't get it. It's just like he was all. A lot of things were said that he was surprised. People have brought this up because I always looked up. And it's like, what is everyone thinking about this? And it's like, Dan would be surprised by his own blast. Even when he was alone, he'd be like, "Oh my god," or that, whatever. It's just like, and then so all the So it's just like, how is Dan Gossip Girl? And like that means he also leaked certain information that was really terrible. That's also the point. I think the point, what kind of got the thing about Dan being Gossip Girl, the revelation of who it was that like Gossip Girl is a terrible person because they've been exposing everyone's deepest, darkest scandals and secrets and saying terrible things about them for years. And now that it's Dan, it's just kind of like, oh, okay. I like, and then Cerise just like, I'm okay with it. And then, but the whole series, she hates Gossip Girl, and the fact that Gossip Girl's always trashing her and stuff like that, wants to get revenge and take down Gossip Girl. But when she finds out it's Dan, it's just like, whatever. So what? He posted pictures of me and spread rumors that I had an STD and all this other stuff, whatever. It's just like, bro, like, Gossip Girl is supposed to be like the villain the whole series, and the only people that were mad was Rufus at first and Blair, but and he's just like, oh, Jenny knew I was Gossip Girl the whole time. It's just like, what? It's just like, but you, and he's just like, oh, she didn't really want me to say anything about her, then she would have asked. It's just like, how did Jenny know the whole time? It's just like, I looked up and I saw that Dan being Gossip Girl was more of a last minute decision, but it just really didn't make any sense. And then I saw that Eric was supposed to be Gossip Girl at one point, and then someone figured it out. Like the New York Times was like, oh, it's Eric, and then they're like, oh, it can't be Eric anymore. And then one creator was like, oh, it was supposed to be Nate by the end of season 4. It was going to be Nate. I'm just like, it doesn't make sense for it to be Nate either. It's just like, and then one of my friends, they're like, it should have been, a couple of my friends are like, it should have been Jenny. I think it would have made more sense if it was Jenny. Other people said Dorota, which would have made sense, but that would have ruined Dorota's character because she's like the loyal one. She doesn't tell anyone about what Blair is up to or anything, and if it just turns out she was the one trashing Blair and all the rest of them the whole time, that would kind of ruin what Dorota was. So I'm glad it wasn't her. So I feel like they should have had a clear idea of who Gossip Girl was from the beginning. I know originally they wanted to be Eric, but like it felt like the whole idea of who Gossip Girl was just became a big mess. And some people have even said it would have been better if they never said who Gossip Girl was. But I think after all those years, you really did want to know who Gossip Girl was. Like, and I could see why, if they wanted, I think it should have been Dan from the beginning if wanted to be a thing, because I got what they were saying in the finale about, oh, he wanted to be an outsider and he wanted to be talked about, so he made Gossip Girl and talked himself and such and such. But like, it just should have been more, I don't know, I think it just should have been that from the beginning or something. And then the creator was also like saying there would have been holes in anybody being Gossip Girl, which is true. Like if anybody had been Gossip Girl, basically it would have been like, wait, there still would have been something that was just like, how are you Gossip Girl? But like, um, I don't know, just it being Dan just seemed like a lot, or just too many holes, like too many. Um, but that's my beef on Dan. I used to like I used to like a lot of the characters more so in the beginning. I have Serena in the beginning. You know, I understood Serena more and I liked her more. Maybe I was just distracted because Blake Lively is beautiful, but like Serena is a mess. Like I kind of got her at first in the beginning. She really wanted to make amends and have a fresh start, and all this other stuff. And it felt like okay, she made all these mistakes, and now she's trying to move on. So on and so forth. And I was just kind of got Serena and this other stuff, and she just seemed more likable in the beginning, because she just seemed more likable in the beginning, like honestly. But and then over time it was just like when I first started watching the show, my friend was like, Serena Vanderwoodson is the worst main character ever, and Serena's terrible. Like I was just this stuff. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't see her as that bad. But that was at the beginning, and then by the end of the series, I'm just like so disappointed in Serena. She's had a messed up life, but like she plays the victim, like in situations where it's her fault, and she's uh like villain. She can be very villainous, like in certain points. Like whenever her and Blair in a squabble, it becomes hands off or gloves off, and like just does whatever. She does really messed up things when anyone gets the spotlight, like Blair, or when her cousin Lola was like becoming the it girl. It was just like, oh, now I'm jealous and I want to be the it girl, but at the same time, no, I don't, and everyone's giving me all this attention. But it's just like, pick a side, Serena. It's just like either you want to be the it girl or not. And it's just like always playing the victim. Like when she gets caught in something, it's always like, well, you did this and you whatever. And it's just like, Serena. It's just like, but at the same time, you did whatever you did. Like, when she exposed the sex tape, or she didn't expose it, but when the sex tape was exposed that she had made with Dan, and then she wants to be like, well, Blair, you did choose Chuck and whatever, and it's just like, but you didn't really know that. You just thought that, and you just wanted to seduce Dan, and you wanted to destroy Blair. Like, that was your whole motive. Don't act like, oh, well, since you were Chuck, I wanted Dan. It's just like, and then all this other stuff, and everyone always has to save her. Like, the first two seasons, like, the end of the season wraps up with this big, um, thing to save Serena, like, oh, Serena killed this guy, and now we have to save her from Georgina, and oh, we have to get Serena out of jail, and oh, we have to save Serena from Juliet, and it's just like so damsel in distress all the time, and it's just like, and things that end up being her fault, and it just becomes by the end of the series, I'm just like not rooting. I mean, in a way, I want to root for Serena the whole time because I was disappointed that she never. It was always about a man with Serena. Like she never, like, it was just always from one guy to the other. It's like when she came back, it was Dan, and then once it wasn't Dan, it was Aaron, or it was some other guy, or it was Nate, or it was Ben, or it was Colin, or it was Steven, or whatever. It's just always once one guy, once one relation fails with one guy, then she goes back to the other, go back to either an old guy or she finds a new guy to get fully enthralled with, and it's just like Serena. you need to work on yourself. Like, you keep getting all these relationships and jumping in, and like the whole point was Serena finding fulfillment. She would have all these jobs, and she really found fulfillment when she was working in LA in the movie industry. And then, that gets ruined because of her getting involved with stuff with Dan. And then by the end of the series, the season or the series finale, when Serena was gonna leave to go to LA permanently, and then she comes back because Dan wrote her a love letter. It's like, and then she forgets the part where he also wrote really terrible things about her and humiliated her. And it's like, Serena, it's just like, you should have gone to LA. It made me think of the Friends finale when Rachel left to be with her dreams to go to Paris, be with Ross. It's just like, I wanted Serena to finally not be so enthralled in this insane Upper East Side world that causes her all these problems, and she has to do everything with a man and whatever to go do her own thing. I wanted that for Serena because you were rooting for Serena to finally get better and have a purpose and be on a straight and narrow path and all this stuff. But then she just comes back for Dan. And it's just like, we never even find out she's found any fulfillment. It's just like, oh, I'm with Dan. It's just like kind of disappointing for Serena, in my opinion. I think she deserved more. I think she should have gone to Brown, like, hypothetically, but obviously then that would make the show different. And like the dean of the head mistress said in like season 5, I think it was season 4, when she was just like, I was just really hoping you'd get out of this world and do your own thing and stuff. It's just like, yes, Serena, because you have all this drama when you're here. It's just like, and you act like these people are your family, like her and Blair's relationship, it was not a good friendship. They were constantly at odds and jealous of each other and stab each other in the back, and then they just forgive each other because they're just like, oh, we've been best friends, and I don't want to not know you, and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, you guys should not be friends. It's just like, she slept with her boyfriend twice. She has undermined you. She has stolen your spotlight. Blair has done things too to Serena, like messing up her proposal thing and saying she was too dumb to get into Yale, and then saying in front of everyone she killed Pete Fairman. And so they just had too much of a back and forth, tumultuous relationship, and Serena and Blair just kind of or one of those habit friendships. They were just basically like, oh, well, we've always been best friends, and they honestly, neither of them really has any other friends. Like, Blair has Minions and Chuck, and then Serena has Dan or Nate every once in a while, or a man, some other man, but they were really only they were the only people that were going to put up with each other. So I think that's how they just were always connected, and it was like a habit thing. But Serena and Blair were not true best friends, like, ever. Like, it's just too messy with them, and it was just like, they deserve better than each other, I think. Like, even though, well, I don't know, because let's try to, I'll try to segue into Blair now, because I've had my Serena monologue. Serena's very beautiful, though. Like, I would be like, I will say that, like, it's like supposed to be like the pretty it girl, and like I was just like always, she's Blake Lively is very beautiful, like, which, but that didn't make me ignore that Serena was a mess sometimes. But anyway, when going on to Blair, Blair was Blair is I've seen is the most liked Gossip Girl character. Everyone loves Blair. And honestly, at first I hated Blair, but then I she kind of grew on me a little over time, but Blair is it's Blair is how do I put this? It's I mean, I thought how what do I say about Blair? There's a lot I could say. One, once she left Constance in high school, I just felt like I was just embarrassed for her all the time. Like, I'm gonna come to college and be the most popular girl in school again, and I'm gonna have minions, and it's just like, and being in college, I'm like, college does not work that way. There's not at least not at my college, like where there's one girl that everyone pays attention to, or it's a popular girl, or I want minions, and I'm gonna throw a big sleepover to impress all the girls. It's just like, that's so high school. Blair was so high school for so long. Like, once she got, it was entertaining in high school, her whole mean girl thing, um, mostly, but I will say she blew her own chances with Yale by going after the Miss Carr teacher who's also slept with Dan. Because, woo, what is Miss Carr? You need to chill. But that was a whole other thing. But, but Blair would just be too manipulative and mean. I don't know. It's just like much to her own downfall. And like it was just embarrassing to watch her after high school and just still try to be I'm Queen Bee and everyone I'm the popular girl and like it just got embarrassing and I want to be a princess and live in a fairy tale and it's just like, Blair, grow up. It's just like, and then her whole thing with Chuck, she could never be with anybody but Chuck. Chuck was always her kryptonite. She could be happy if she was not with Chuck. And it was just like, Chuck and Blair are just toxic. I think they have a toxic love. They're just like they both love each other and it just cancels out anything they do to each other. Like Blair really loved Chuck and then Chuck could just do anything to her, sell her for a hotel, take her virginity and then act like he doesn't care about her anymore and countless countless other things and try to sabotage her life and whatever and then it's just like oh but Chuck I still love Chuck and it's just like runs to be with Chuck every 5 seconds and it's just I think their relationship they kept doing the same thing back and forth like, oh, we're together. No, we're not. I hate you. I love you, but I love you, but I don't love you, but I'm not in love with you, but we can't be friends, but we're in love, but also this. And it's just like, oh my god. It's just like you guys keep doing the exact same thing over and over and over again. And by the end of the series, this whole pact to get married if we succeed our goals and then like when Chuck fails it's just like I can't be with you with his deep voice that I'm just like this voice like it freaks me out sometimes but like and it's just like every time something goes wrong for Chuck, then he has to take it out on Blair and like I can't be with you. And then when she's engaged to somebody else, punches the glass and cuts her face and just like and then it's still like still talking about I've always loved Chuck and it's just like no Blair no it's just like in a way I get irritated with Blair because I'm rooting for her to be something better like the whole time I shipped Dan and Blair I think I shipped Dan and Blair like when they were Starting off, I was just like, at first I didn't know what to think about it, because the whole series I was watching, I'm like, okay, everyone always switches between who they're dating, like Serena dates Nate, then dates Dan, and then Nate dates Vanessa, and then Vanessa dates Dan, that whole thing that happens in teen dramas. So I'm just like, I bet Dan and Blair will never be together. I'm just like, that's never gonna happen. And then I'm watching season 4. I'm just like, oh my god, they're gonna try to put Dan and Blair together. That is insane. How does that work? And then as the episodes went on, I'm just like, wait, I do like Dan and Blair. Like, I'm shipping them. They have a mutual love for things. Their love is less toxic, and Dan really likes Blair. Like, it was more that Dan liked Blair more than Blair liked Dan, was, I think, their problem. Blair was always going to be entangled with Chuck. That was always going to be her thing, and that was just going to be her thing, because Blair is very uppity. And then the whole, I can't be in Brooklyn, and like, it's just like, but at the same time, I think she had more of a healthy love with, or because I don't know if Blair really loved Dan, but Dan loved Blair, and their relationship was healthier than the one with Chuck. They shared mutual interests. They could do things together, um, stuff like that. And I just felt like Dan and Blair were healthier until they weren't. Until it was, now I want to choose between Dan and Chuck. Like, then it's like, I'm gonna go to Chuck without even telling Dan that I'm breaking up with him. It's just like, it was just always Dan liked Blair more than Blair liked him, and I think that was a problem in their relationship. Um, and one thing in the final season was that Blair, when that whole expose came out about Blair, and like, still Dan calling her out for being a bully and running her mom's business like she's the meanest girl in high school. I know that was supposed to be like really bad, but I just felt the same way. I'm just like, but that's exactly what Blair is doing. She thinks she can run the world like she's the meanest girl in high school. Um, but I don't know, but I think he still saw Blair for more at that point. But like I said, season 6, Dan, boo. Like, absolutely not. Is that okay? I think I covered how Chuck is terrible. People like to give Chuck brownie points because of his development in the later seasons, but so no, Chuck is still terrible. He tried to rape Serena and Jenny, and this is just the first episode. And then he's still like this womanizer, and he always tries to do stuff with Blair when she's with somebody else, and has drinking and anger issues, and you know it just doesn't save him. And I'm gonna point out that he basically murdered his father. Like, in this finale, like when Bart fell off the roof and Chuck and Blair just stood there. It's just like, that's not, doesn't really, still kind of like, you still kind of killed him. You didn't help him, and you just let him die. It wasn't, and then there was just like a whole loophole there, and I'm just like, wait, but didn't he just let his father fall off the roof and die? I know Bart Bass is terrible, and he's the number one worst character in the whole series, but for Chuck to just let him die, it's Ann Blair just stand there, and then they both just get off, even though they technically committed a crime. And it's like, what? I'm just like, this is the problem with Chuck and Blair, is that they get so involved in each other's stuff that they end up in trouble. But Chuck, no. Nate, Nate was mostly the good guy. I liked Nate, but there wasn't much to Nate. Like, Nate was kind of boring. He just slept with anything with a pulse. Like when Gossip Girl said he was the class whore, I thought that was hilarious because he literally is. Just sleeps with everybody. I thought his most annoying relationship was with Diana. Oh my god, she was so annoying. Like, she was so annoying. I was so sick of her. Um, but Nate wasn't really a bad guy, but he just didn't have much to him after a certain point. Um, but that's why he shouldn't have been Gossip Girl, is because he never sent in a tip to Gossip Girl, and he was like supposed to be like the good guy and do the right thing. So if he had been Gossip Girl the whole time, then that kind of takes away from the good guy thing, because that means he caused more trouble than anybody by being Gossip Girl. Um, but you know, he was all right. He was all right character. Um, um, Lily. Let's talk about Lily and Rufus together and everything. Lily and Rufus should have been in game, in my opinion. Lily, like, I mean, one, Lily herself, let's do individually. Lily herself was not great. Lily was did so many bad things over the years, forging Serena's signature, sending her to jail, you know, oh, why are those the only two I can think of off the top of my head? Cheating on husbands and all this other stuff. Is just like, and then she wants to try to save Serena, even though Serena is just like her mom, basically. But, but she wants to save Serena from all these things that she likes to say are like her past choices, but she does the same things, and it's like she does really terrible things, and she was better with Rufus. She did less terrible things when she was with Rufus. Her and Rufus had a love, a real love. It wasn't even about their. And she liked Rufus because he was Rufus rather than I'm such and such and I have money or whatever. And I just think they should have stayed together. And I think one thing that was weird was when they got a divorce was that it felt like it was so abrupt and it came out of nowhere. They had been through so much worse stuff, and then their last straw was like the whole Ivy Dickens beef or whatever. Like, oh, I'm putting Ivy up in a hotel, but oh, she stole all this money and she doesn't deserve to have a home or whatever. And that was complicated. I didn't like Ivy Dickens, and she definitely did stuff wrong, but I didn't think she deserved to be out on the streets. But at the same time, I guess that's what happens because she was kind of a con artist. But I just felt like that shouldn't have been their final straw, Rufus and Lily. And then when Bart comes back, and then it's like, I'm gonna marry Bart again, and bye, Rufus. I know Rufus said he was requesting the divorce, but for you to go back with Bart, it's like you were gonna leave Bart for Rufus. It's like, it's just a lot with Lily, but her and Lily just had Lily and Rufus just had a better relationship, and I think they deserve to be in game more than Dan and Serena, and I think that's why they didn't fix anything, because they wanted Dan and Serena to be together in the end. Um, and then also their baby, not their baby, but their child that Rufus and Lily had. Like I said, Scott's like, okay, it was like a big thing at first, like, oh my god, like they had a baby together, and then it was just like when Scott finally shows up, he just is there. Then he's just like, Georgina reveals that he's Scott, and it's just like, oh boy, Scott, this is so great. Never to be seen and barely mentioned ever again. Just like, okay, what was the point of this whole thing? Like, whatever. But the fact that Lily ended up with William Vander Woodson in the end. That was crazy. So Lily ends up with the guy that cheated on her during their marriage and had a baby with her sister, gave her fake cancer, abandoned her multiple times, and then that's who she ends up with? Now that is just crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy. Like, you could have made Serena and Dan end up together without putting her back with William. It's just like, and she just recycles all these old husbands and boyfriends, and she should just like Serena. It's like I can't not be married or dating someone for more than 5 seconds. Like when Bart died the first time, 6 hours after the funeral, she's like, "I'm gonna run away with Rufus," and it's just like, can you just, your husband just died, right? Like maybe you should mourn that a little more before jumping back in with Rufus. It's like, I don't know. What a mess. Like, truly. The show is messy at a lot of times. I'm just like, wow, the show is a mess. And okay, next episode. Like, it's just such a mess. One person I haven't talked about is Vanessa. Everyone seems to hate Vanessa. I don't hate Vanessa, but Vanessa was not the best character. I think Vanessa's purpose was supposed to be, she was supposed to be, one of those characters like, I hate the upper. But I will say, every character that says, I hate the Upper East Side and this world is crazy and this isn't my world and I don't like rich people, they all end up engrossed in the world. Lola, too. I don't want to be a part of this. And then it's like, oh, next thing I know, I'm dating Nate. I'm doing a scheme with them. I'm trying to be the new it girl. I'm on Gossip Girl. I'm trying to figure out what Gossip Girl is. It's like, and then Vanessa's the same way. Oh, look at you, Dan, hanging out with all these Upper East Side kids, and then, oh, I'm gonna film a documentary there, and I'm gonna date Nate, and I slept with Chuck, and I'm having a rivalry with Blair, and I'm at this party too. It's just like, y'all, it's just like, if you want to be in the Upper East Side, at least just say so. Don't pretend like you hate it so much just to show up there later. It's like, yeah, but Vanessa, I feel like her and Dan should have had more potential. Like, in theory, her and Dan dating was a good thing, but they they just got so messy, and it's also kind of like every other character, they can't let go of the big love interest they had. Dan can't let go of Serena. Serena can't let go of Dan or Nate. Chuck can't let go of Blair, and vice versa, and stuff like that. It's just like, and then that was just ultimately the demise of all their other relationships that they tried to have with other characters. Is, oh, but I still like Serena, and I kissed her the second you move to study abroad or whatever, and I'm with Georgina too, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Let's talk about her too, though. Georgina, she was crazy. She was crazy, but she definitely added a lot to the show. At first, she was totally unlikable, but then she became more funny than anything. Like, just had like some of the funniest lines. I did not want to laugh at this. I did not want to think it was funny, but I just cracked up when she was like, told Blair, she's just like, you can tell Jesus that the bitch is back. I'm just like, oh my god. I'm just like, that line. I'm just like, one, that's funny. As a Christian person myself, I'm just like, I don't want to think that's funny, but that's just so silly to say, tell Jesus that the bitch is back. It's just like, I'm just like, that line pops into my head too much. It's just very funny. And then, she's always sabotaging stuff, and really, her stint as Gossip Girl was good. Honestly, she could have been Gossip Girl from the beginning if they had let her, but she was kind of too in and out of the show to keep up with everything to be Gossip Girl the whole series. But I think if she had been Gossip Girl, that kind of would have made sense and would have naturally worked because she's seen as a villain already. So, um, but yeah, she was a lot too. Other characters, one I'll say I don't like Ivy Dickens. I'm just like, you are so irritating. She also plays the victim thing, like, oh, like after she gets caught, she's just like, I still want to be a part of the family, and I don't really see that I did anything wrong, and now she wants to be a badass and sleeping with Rufus, and I'm gonna destroy Lily because she treats everybody like. It's just like, calm down, Ivy. And then also, I'm sleeping with William, and it's just like, Ivy. I feel like her storyline could have been wrapped up by the end of season 5, at least. Or before. It was just like when I first found out she wasn't really Serena's, or yeah, Serena's cousin or whatever, it was just like, oh wow. And then I guess, and that was at the end of season 4, and I guess at season 5 they had to find a way for everyone to find out that she wasn't really who she said she was. But I feel like I didn't need much more for her from her after that. I didn't need her to destroy Lily and Rufus, because why would you do that? So it was I didn't need her. I didn't need her. But yeah, I think I'm trying to think of who my favorite couple is. I guess it might be, I guess I'm the only one I'm really defending right now is Rufus and Lily. I think Dan and Serena like definitely had something at first, but by the end of the series, I just felt like Dan was kind of toxic for her, and they had gone through too much stuff that was negative to still be like these two lovers from different worlds, because it just seemed crazy to me. So I don't know. It wasn't the worst pairing, but I don't know. Dan and Serena just seemed like it didn't work by the end of the series. Um, I will also say I think the first 2 to 3 seasons were its best. Like when they were in high school, I think that's when things were really at the best, probably because they were on high school and they were all around each other and they had a reason to be around each other, and things could just build up and stuff like that. And but I think after they left high school, which it was early for the show to leave high school. They left high school ended at season 2, at the end of season 2, and I think that's kind of when certain things seem a little loopy. Like, okay, they go to NYU, but they travel to Brooklyn to go back forth to Brooklyn and to the Upper East Side, and they don't live on campus. And at a certain point, nobody went to college anymore. Did anyone else notice that? By season 5 or before, no one really went to. I think by season 5, yeah. Serena got that job, and she's like, I'm taking a semester off. Nate started working at the Spectator. Dan wrote a book. Blair married the prince and ran Waldorf Designs. Chuck never went to college. So everyone just stopped going. And I don't know how Serena got into Columbia or Nate. Nate never went to class ever, ever, ever. So it was just like that's when things just felt like more unrealistic because they spend all their time around each other, but yet they go to all these different parts of New York and live in different places, and but yet they're still all around each other all the time. And I like looked up like how long it takes to get from Brooklyn to the Upper East Side. It takes like a really, really long time. Whether you're driving or on the train, but they all just show up there like whenever, and they act like it took them 10 minutes to get there, and it's like, It's like it's a show, it's a TV show, but it's still like okay, that doesn't make sense. Um, but I think this covers most of what I thought about Gossip Girl. It was different to be so to watch a show that was different than what I usually watch. Like in comedies, I usually love almost every character, and I'm just like, yeah. And then this show is just like, oh, this is juicy, and like this character, I have so many thoughts about this person and that person because this is a drama that's gone on for 6 years, and there's a lot to cover with this show. There's 121 episodes of the show, and they're all 40 minutes each, and they all have 1,000 different things going on in each of them. And by the end of each season, there's something else crazy going on. But this has just been like a real ride watching this show. Like I just was hooked. I was hooked. I've been hooked on this for since like October. Um, so this has been like my main show that I've been watching between schoolwork and other stuff, which is why I haven't had time to podcast and much. But yeah, it's been a really interesting show, and I want to know everybody's thoughts when I post that. I would love to know what I talk about. Show of my friends who got me into it. Like we were talking about just now. Like I was just I finished the series and here's everything that I think about it, and you know, it was actually I do want to point out how well written the show was. It actually was really well written. A lot of the storylines tied together so well, and these ideas of what these characters were at the beginning and at the end, and the narration, and besides it being catty and hilarious to me, but it was a really well thought out show, I think. It had these complex relationships and love stories that just really kept you hooked in, and the writing, like a lot of the dialogue, I'd be like, wow, that's great dialogue that I'm hearing. Like it's good. It's really good, and really good shots of different people, and I'm just like, wow, this is I did not expect the show to be. I just thought it was another really stupid teen drama, and I'm just like, no, this is good in a way. In a way, I won't think that's not ridiculous or absurd or unrealistic at different points, but it's a lot better than I expected this show to be. And I think if you're willing to watch a drama that may be all over the place and messy like this, and just have really juicy scenarios and fun narration, I think you should get into it. Like, honestly, it might surprise you the way that how much you like it. Like, it kind of surprised me. Like, it feels like something that's dumb. Well, it is in a lot of ways. I'm just like, okay, that doesn't work, or this doesn't. But, like, that's any show. So, I say, give it a try. Like, why not? Um, But I will also say I'm probably not gonna watch the new version of it. It just doesn't seem like it's gonna catch my eye the same way. I know I said I didn't like what this show didn't catch my eye, but I'm not sure if reboots. I'm not into reboots a whole lot, so it's just like it. I just feel like I'm gonna be like, well, this isn't as good, and I already saw a clip and I heard different things about it, and I'm just probably not gonna watch it, and it's 2 seasons in already, and I might just, be like, mm. But maybe if I hear it's better than I think, maybe I'll check out an episode. Even though I already seems like the narration is off, and I like the narration in the first one. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my main thoughts on Gossip Girl. I could probably discuss this and all the different things that happen forever or for a long time, but you know, I hope you listen to this because this is a lot of me talking, but I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into this um, teen drama. But oh wait, one more thing I'm gonna say. The show did come out in 2007 and in 2012. There are a lot of things about that have not aged very well. Like it was supposed to be controversial at the time too, but there are certain things that have definitely not aged well. And I'm just like, oh, that's rocky. Like Chuck and toxic relationships and things like that. And but you know, it's a show. It's not a big deal. Still worth a watch. But thank you for listening to this episode of Justin Talks TV. I need to find a new episode to talk about soon. I'm currently watching Living Single, and I want to do an episode about that. I want to watch The Bear. I want to cover Only Murders in the Building season 2. Just be patient with me as I find the time to do so. But thank you so much for listening um, to this episode on Gossip Girl. And I will catch you guys next time. Bye.